Well, what do you say, folks? Hello on a Wednesday night. And yeah, we were supposed to record tonight, and Joe got tied up. So we pushed off the show to the actual podcast recording until next week. I think it's going to be next week. Um, and we got a pretty good guest that's going to come on and talk about some things. And then after that, yeah, episode 300. We got to figure out what we're going to do for episode 300. As Dawn comes by, good to see you, Dawn. And the big Pablo, thanks for coming by here. And what I thought we'd talk about tonight. Let me make a banner. Let me make a banner. I never made a banner in a while. Excuse me. Let's see here. Let's edit this banner right here. Um, Hang on a sec. All right. How about this? How does this look? How does this look? All right. We're gonna go like this. Favorite sports moments in your life. That's what I'd like to do. Let's talk about that here. And let me change that. So see if that looks any better. I didn't like how that banner looked. Um Maybe, yeah. Yeah, we'll go with that one there. So what are some of the favorite sports moments in your life? And it doesn't necessarily uh have to be on the tabletop. It can be something that you've watched. Oh boy, I don't like any of these styles here. How about this one here? Yeah, we'll go with that one. Um, and what got me thinking about that was I was watching some things on YouTube. I was watching some of like the best of, and I think it was like the best goal line stands and some of the best winning plays and favorite moments. And so I was like, I had a real bad night at work last night, and I says I want to talk about something fun. And what can we talk about that's fun? So let's talk about something that's fun for us, for you, for me, that has a personal, I don't know what you want to call it, a personal touch. And it could be something that you saw on TV that we all saw. Or it could be maybe a game you went to. It doesn't even necessarily have to be, a playoff game or a championship game. Just something really, really cool that happened at a game you went to. And I got a few of my own I'll put in on here. Or it could be something on the tabletop, again, but just some feel good moments that you had in your life. And I'd like to talk about that with everybody here. And Jeff comes by. Good to see you, Jeff. Yeah, this takes a while. This banner takes a little while. It does. And Bernie comes by. Yeah, I'm not sure if I like this one. Not you. It's not you, Bernie. I just don't know if I like that particular brand of banner here. Let's see. Let's see if this is the one here. Yeah, that's the one I like. And Enzo says he likes the USA Hockey, 1980. He was 15. Yeah, I think I was. I wasn't quite 15 when that happened. And let's talk about that for a minute, Enzo. Right? Let me go to a different screen here. Here we go. Here we go. Let's put the hockey rink on here. Now, the 1980 USA Hockey, if you remember, right? It wasn't televised live. It was on the radio, and there was stories of people that were getting out of their cars on the highway and celebrating with each other, when they won that game. And it was pretty incredible. Uh, but it wasn't shown till that night, just kind of how television was in the 70s and the 80s. So that game we never saw. We heard it on the radio. And I don't even remember how I heard it. I don't remember. I don't remember where I was or what was happening because it wasn't live. It really wasn't, and there was no internet, and technology was different. So when they won that, it was a very, very different situation. It really was. It was very different, very different. Um, but it was obviously it was a great moment. Yeah, so that's got to be up there. And Bernie says the last two games of the '67 Red Sox season, he attended both games. He was 16 years old. Boy, that was way before my time, before I could remember anything. But that must have been cool. I've been to Fenway Park 4 or 5 times. Once as an adult, probably going back 21 or 22 years. And then several times as a kid. I was in the bleachers a couple of times. So on the first baseline once, mostly bleachers though. We went as kids and like as the recreational department went, and we would get on bus and go in and just sit in the bleachers and eat our hot dogs, and that was it. I remember, the games I went to as a kid, Yaz was playing and Burleson and guys like that, Jim Rice and um, but it's still some fun memories, going back. I can't remember any one particular memory in that game. There was one game we went to, I think. I don't remember where I was sitting. Like I said, it's a very vague memory that bases were loaded with 2 outs, and Yastrzemski come up in a tie game in the bottom of the ninth, and he singled to right to win the game. I do remember that one. That was pretty cool. I do remember that game at Fenway Park. I should go back and look it up, but then again, I don't know what year it was. I don't even remember who they played. It's how long ago it was. Box seats were $6.75. I still have a bunch of tickets somewhere, ticket stubs. I had them in a box, and I had some autographs, and I had some old ticket stubs, and I don't know what I did with them. Again, traveling around as I did, I used to keep good track of that stuff, and some of that stuff always went with me, no matter what it was. Some of that stuff always ended up staying with me, but there's a lot that didn't. You know how you move and you start purging and get rid of things, and things get lost, and yeah. So unfortunately, I'd like to dig out some of those ticket stubs from the old Bruins games and things like that. And Big Pablo says he went to the longest game in Fenway history, 1981, 19 innings. Oh. And I thought it was bad on my tabletop, right? Going all those innings. And here you are in real life. I don't know if I could have survived that. I think the last time I went to a baseball game was a minor league game. And, they finished the next day in the 20th inning. There was a minor league game we went to, and I don't know if it was in Portland, Maine or something like that, or Worcester or something. And it was like, after like 4 or 5 innings, I was ready to go. I didn't need to sit anymore and watch the game, but the people we were with, oh, you can't go now. It's like, well, I've seen enough. I just want to see a little bit of baseball, and again, it was minor league, so I didn't really know anybody. And so it was just kind of wild. Just, watching that at the minor league stadiums was kind of fun. And Mike comes by. What's going on? Good to see you there. And all right, so I'll tell you one of my favorites. So we'll get the ball rolling here. One of my favorite things, and again, let me put my banner up. Some of my favorite sports memories, sports moments in my life. Okay, we can call it in your life too. One of them was a minor league hockey game. We were at the Worcester Ice Cast game, and it was a Sunday. I don't think it must have been right after football season, because I remember like there was no Patriots game to go see, and we're out there, and the home team was losing. I think it was 5-0 or 6-0 after 2 periods, and everyone's packing up to go. And I looked over, at the wife, and I says, got nothing to do today. You wanted to stay? She's like, yeah, we'll stay. So we just stayed, and we're talking to the people next to us, and just, it's 5 or 6-0. And they come out in the third period and they score a goal. Hooray, and it's 6-1. And I remember because we were right behind the glass, I put my hand on the glass. It's like, guys, you got to believe, touch the glass, right? And they scored again. So now they get 2 goals. And next thing you know, everyone's touching the glass saying, you got to believe. And they scored a 3rd goal. And they got within 2 goals, and they took the goalie out. They okay, you come out, and they put the backup in. And the backup's in, and he's kind of half-assed in the stretching. And I'm saying to myself, this guy's not ready. He's not taking this serious. Off the face-off at center ice, and went back to the defenseman at his own blue line. He shot it, and he scored on the goalie. And that made it a 1-goal game. And everyone's going nuts at this point. Everybody's touching the glass. You got to believe. And then they tied it. They tied it late in the 3rd period. And I think they came back. It was either 5 or 6. I think it was 6. And imagine that down 6-0 and they tie it. And then they go to overtime and they win it in overtime 7-6 or 6-5, 1-2. That was an unbelievable, unbelievable moment. It's something that I will always remember. Um, and it's something I still talk about to this day. And again, it wasn't a collapse. It was the home team coming back in dramatic fashion. And of course, the next game, everybody that left, we were giving them all crap. It's like, where'd you go? You missed the greatest comeback of all time. And they're like, don't tell me about it. Don't tell me about it. Um, but yeah, that was one of mine. One of mine there. As far as the tabletop, there were a couple of times I was playing. I think it was replay baseball, and I think I was playing replay PC baseball, but I was rolling my own dice, and I was live here one time, and Fredlin come up with 2 outs in the ninth, and I rolled the 666. And in replay PC baseball, that's a home run. At least it was for Fredlin, and it was crazy because I rolled the dice and I had the camera on and it come out 6, 6, and 6, and I was just laughing. I said, "What are the chances? What are the chances that I roll that and he's got a walk-off home run?" And he did that twice. And I don't know if I was live both times, but he did that twice. And so it was just a good feel-good moment. Again, Red Sox, Fred Lynn. I've always liked Freddie Lynn, and he hits the home run. That was kind of cool. So some of the things like that. So if anything's ever really, really out of the ordinary or fun or a moment for you, that's what we're talking about here. Obviously, anything on TV is up for discussion too. Oh, you went back to your brother's house at 2 a.m. Yeah, that was a late one there. There was a story one time. I think it was the Pawtucket Red Sox. I don't think it was the actual Red Sox, and it went like 19, 20 innings, and one of the guys from the team got home at like 3 a.m. And his wife or girlfriend wouldn't let him in the house. And he's like, the game went, all these innings and they suspended the game. We're going to pick it up tomorrow. And she didn't believe him. And it wasn't until the next day when she heard it on the news that he was telling the truth. Something tells me he had gone out many times before that after the game. just my gut feeling. Crew fan comes by. He just finished up a fun game of fast drive football. Isn't that such a good game? Fast drive football really, really is a fun game. I enjoy the heck out of that. So who played what year? What were you doing? Have you replayed the Super Bowl yet? I did. And again, it was the last second win by the Sea Hags. They came back last card and got a touchdown. That was fun. Oh, you know what someone brought up today on Facebook? They were looking for the Downey Super Bowl teams, because if you buy or if you had bought the game-winning drive, which was one of my favorite drive-by-drive games until Fast Drive Football, if you bought the Super Bowl set, every year they email you the football teams. And so I'm expecting that now. And I forgot all about that. Last year, someone reminded me. It's like, hey, did you get the football teams? I'm like, no, I didn't. I looked at it. It was in my junk mail. So I'm kind of hoping that'll come in the next couple of days so I could play that, because I do have a crazy work weekend. So I wouldn't be able to play it unless I get it in the next couple of days. So I got to keep an eye on that. So anybody that has game-winning drive that bought the Super Bowl set, you get every single Super Bowl matchup, and then they give you the new ones if they're still producing teams, which I hope they are, and I think they are. Let's see here. Some Roads comes by. Good to see you here. Yeah, so I'm kind of pinch hitting here tonight. We were supposed to record a show, and again, Joe got tied up down in Florida, so we're going to hold off recording until next Wednesday, I believe it's going to be, or at least next week is kind of the plan. And crew fans, 69 Bengals and 69 Dolphins. I haven't played too much 60s football. I have 1970, and I have that. Oh, what was that game-winning drive? Yeah, I think it was game-winning drive, and I think I played the Boston Patriots that season, and they were pretty bad, and they finished pretty close to what they finished in real life with my replay. And Bernie comes by. I was also lucky enough to be at Dodger Stadium for the Gibson home run game, the World Series. You were at that game, Bernie? That Gibson home run, that must have been nuts. That is That's one game I didn't really have a stake in. I don't even know if I watched it live. Was that 80? Is that 88? Yeah, I wasn't big into baseball at that point because I think if it was 88, I was out of high school and I was, had my car and I was, running around. I was playing in a band, I think. And I did the hockey thing. I was big into hockey. Baseball at that point, I had kind of tuned out of, so I don't even think I watched that live. And I know the World Series is something that's on TV, and maybe I was somewhere watching it, but I don't remember watching that one live. But to be at that game, wow, that's really kind of cool to be at a game like that. I'm trying to think if there's any other. There was a few I was going to talk about here. And now I was at a Patriots game. It was was it the strike year? I forget. It was a late season game. I was way up in the nosebleeds, and Doug Flutie was the quarterback. Whatever year that was, Doug Flutie was the quarterback. And they had a fourth down. It was inside the 5, and they were down by more than 3. I could probably look it up on Pro Football Reference and see, what game that actually was. And so the Patriots called timeout, and Flutie comes to the sidelines. And again, I trying to remember what year that was. And I remember turning to some of the guys we were with. There's a whole bunch of us that went. And I says, this would be a good time for the Steve Grogan naked bootleg. Steve Grogan used to do that. He'd fake the handoff and he'd go around and there'd be nobody there. They called it the naked bootleg. It just, you sold out to one side and the quarterback would go around the end. I think he would go to his left. So he'd fake the handoff to the right, curl around, and go in like that. And they come out, and Flutie runs the naked bootleg and scores a touchdown. And everybody's like looking at me, high-fiving me. It's like, how did you predict that? It's like, I felt time for the, it felt time. It felt time for the naked bootleg, and he scored that. So that was really, really kind of fun. Big Pablo comes by. Oh, wait, hang on. Well, I missed a couple here. Okay, AP comes by. And Crew Fan says, his favorite live game was Shea Stadium 2005. Ordonez hitting the Mets, hit a grand slam against the Phillies. That stadium shook. Yeah, isn't it really cool when you go to an event like that and it gets so loud and people are going nuts? It is. It's so much energy. There's so much energy with that. It's like being at a concert, and the favorite song comes up, And yeah, you remember watching? I do remember that watching on that TV, the Flyers and the Red Army team. And I can always hear Ron say, "And they're going home." He always talks about that, and they're going home. I remember watching that game, and I don't remember that being it. That wasn't like a violent game. It wasn't like some of the other games. There was a couple of hits, but the one hit that the guy they left the ice on, I didn't think it was that bad. I really didn't. It wasn't like the Summit series where they were killing each other. And I remember them walking off. And I'm just a kid. And I'm thinking, well, if they play the game, the other team ain't there. I guess the Flyers could just go down and score into the net, right? And, if they missed the net, then I guess. But I mean, I guess they could just, and that's the way I was thinking. I was thinking, oh, we'll play, but just go down and score into the empty net over and over. I'm not thinking you can't do that. I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing. But yeah, that was a crazy time. The Big Red Machine coming by. Good to see you. Have you sent me anything yet, Michael? I've been like straight out with work and shoveling and cold and miserable stuff over here. So I don't know if you sent me anything so I can add it to the website. Yeah, it is a broad topic. But it's just stuff, it's just a feel-good topic tonight. Something that was special to you, whether you saw it on TV or at the game, even on your tabletop. There's so many fun sports moments. And what kind of triggered this thought was just watching on YouTube. I'm sitting on YouTube and you get fed, your algorithm. But it's fun seeing some of the things that come up. Like today was the 10 best goal line stands that come up in my algorithm. And then sometimes it's the 10 like biggest interceptions or the other night I was watching basketball impossible plays where like 1 second left and the guy's heaving it down the court. And it's just, if you've ever been at something like that or you've ever played something like that, you know, is kind of what I was going with. Shack Fest come by. Is that like Shack Fu? Riverfront Stadium, 85. Chargers and the Bengals. Dan Fouts, 5 TDs. Yeah, the 80s were wild, huh? With Marino and Fouts. And was that Esiason in 85? I think it was after Ken Anderson. It might have been Boomer. But yeah, Air Coryell and stuff like that. That was yeah, some good games, especially on the turf. When you could just kind of run, as long as it wasn't like minus 10 degrees out. you know. Bernie says his brother took him to his first Red Sox game in April of 1960. Ted Williams in a home run, a great thrill for a 9-year-old. Bernie, that is really cool, and that's something you'll never forget. Ted Williams. I don't even remember Ted Williams. And you saw him live and hit a home run. Again, I remember Yaz hitting that single in the right and winning the game with the bases loaded. That was pretty cool. And that one I did see live. I'm trying to think if there's anything else at Fenway I could talk about. No, not really. Yeah, like I said, I didn't go to many games at Fenway. And I haven't gone to any other Major League ballparks that I can remember. I don't think so. Did some minor league baseball. But that's cool. Ted Williams hitting a home run. Let's see. Super Bowl. Mike says he was at Fenway for the Yankees Red Sox in '96. Fans would chant "Let's go Red Sox," but the Yankees fans would chant 1918. And the Red Sox fans went quiet in their own ballpark. Yeah, well, let's take a look. Really, since 2000, though, has it been the Yankees or the Red Sox that have owned the World Series? Right? In fact, I still got to play. I still haven't played that. I got the APA. I was kind of a dummy. I bought the APA World Series teams for 2004, and then I ended up buying the Yankees and the Astros off of eBay. But by the time I was done for another 30 or 40 bucks, I could have got the whole season. But again, I don't think I would have played that season. I just wanted the playoff teams. But I still want to play that. I just remember all those guys. I actually watched that World Series in 2004. And I remember, that's another one I could talk about here. So let me talk about that real quick. Not to bring up the Sox and the Yankees. So that 2004 series with the Yankees and the Sox, I remember we were at the Worcester game, the Worcester Ice Cats game, and we were trying. Yeah, they were still playing at the time, and I was on a flip phone. I was trying to get the score of the game, and it was coming in weird. And so I got a score, and then the guy 2 rows ahead of me got a different score. That's how bad the cell phone technology was. There was no iPhones, I think, back then. And so everyone's on their flip phone, and I had whatever website I was going to try to get the score in the stadium, and it was just really crazy. Like no one could get the score correct. And so we watched the rest of the game and drove home, and that's the game that the Yankees crushed them. And for some reason, I come home from the hockey game, and she went to bed, and I come downstairs, and I turn on the TV, and I put it on, and I'm watching the Yankees just destroy the Sox and go up, 3-0 in the series. And something, and I swear this happened. I just sat there, and I'm not even a baseball fan, but it's Yankees, Red Sox, and I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, something said it can't end this way. And I've told the story before. I did not think they would come back and win the series and win the World Series, but watching that game, watching them get spanked at home and go down 3-0, how bad that game was. There was like a little something on my shoulder that said it can't end this way, and I'll never forget that. And then look what happened. The rest is history, right? But that's another fun story here that we talk about here. And then they came back and did what they did. But that night, we're all at the game trying to follow along, and we're getting different scores on our phones. It was kind of fun. Some Road says the most exciting live events I've attended were the 2003 and 04 Yankees versus Red Sox LCS Game 6s at Yankee Stadium. They were bleacher creatures, and the place was bananas. Oh, I would imagine. Yeah. I don't know how it is nowadays. Because back in the day, especially like 70s and 80s, it was nuts. Now they have cameras everywhere, so if you do any kind of crap, it's like, see you later, you're in trouble. You can't hide from anything. Back in the day, you know, you could hit the ball into stands at Yankee Stadium, and the guy would dive in, and they'd put the ball in his glove, and he'd come up with it and be an out. Can't do that nowadays. you know. Let's see. And Lake Effects comes by. Good to see you. And Fenner comes by. What's going on, Mr. Fenner? Only great sports moment. Oh, is it really? This can't be the only one, Fenner. It can't be the only. Tell me it's not the only one. 8th grade, watching University of Hawaii at Aloha Stadium. Oh, that must have been good, though. Just being in Hawaii must have been good. Hawaii beat the Hawkeyes 27-24. I was ranked number 8. That must have been really cool, having them fly all the way out there as a ranked team, and then, the Hawaiians beat them up. That's kind of cool. I thought it was a clean hit, too. That maybe some of the other ones weren't, but I thought that was a clean hit. I just kind of how I felt about it. But I guess when they told them they weren't going to get paid, they went back out and they're like, "Oh, no pay for you." Yeah, let me know, Big Red Machine, if you find something. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. If you go to the website and look at the guests, that'll show you what it is. Let's see. Alan says, I was at the 1970 game when Tom Seaver struck out 19. That record lasted until Clemens 20 years later. I remember watching some of the Clemens games, and it was kind of neat because the people in the bleachers would put the K up there, and they had a whole roll of Ks, and they added to them when Clemens pitched. Actually, I think when anybody pitched, but it was fun that night because there were so many of them. It was a good time. I really enjoyed that, watching that. But yeah, that would be a good one too. Just seeing Seaver anyway, Alan, that would be great. And Thespian, I remember being very hungover, maybe 19, when Flutie threw the Hail Mary pass and thinking it was the most amazing play you'd ever seen. I can tell you exactly where I was in that moment. It was the day after Thanksgiving, right? And we had no school. I was in high school, and I was over a friend's house, and me and his dad watched that game. And I don't even know where my friend was, but I remember watching with my friend's dad, and we watched the whole thing, and Flutie hit it, and we just went nuts. And it was just, but you could tell it was that type of game. Was it Bernie Kosar was the other quarterback? It was like whoever had the ball last was going to win because it was like score, 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 score. It was like 75-76 or something like that. And the last team that had the ball won the game. But yeah, I do remember that one there. I was not hungover, by the way. I just really didn't drink at that point. Crew fan says, I love the stuff that comes up on YouTube. Been watching a lot of classic NFL and CFL. Yeah. Do you know what I've noticed there, though? I always remember, back when when videotapes first started coming out, right? I remember saying, we always saw highlights on TV. I said, I would love to watch the whole game. Just see how it all played out from start to finish, right? And I remember seeing that the Tom Dempsey field goal. You remember that one? But seems like 100 years ago because now people are kicking like 80-yard field goals, right? So I always said I'd like to watch that game. I really would. I'd like to watch that game in full. And nowadays, when I go to YouTube and I see that game, right, and I see that game in full, or any game in full, I tend to watch like 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm kind of done. And so I'm just like, yeah. I started watching. It was 76 playoffs, right? And it was Pittsburgh in Baltimore, and I was like, oh, I'll watch this, and I watched like 10 minutes, and I was like, yeah, that's enough, I was like, yeah, that's enough for me. So I always want to watch the whole game. I remember I'll order the videotape, get the full game on tape. I would never watch it though. I never would. AP went to a nasal soccer game when he was a kid. Watched Pele for the Cosmos. I remember Pele coming to the Cosmos, and I didn't know much about it, but it was a big deal. It was a big deal. And the other thing about nasal soccer, okay, and I call it, maybe that's what they called it, but I remember on the Intellivision, right? Remember the Intellivision, and they had yeah, I'm look, I have my NHL hockey over here on my desk. So they had NHL hockey, MLB baseball, and they had nasal soccer, and we got it. You know, we didn't know anything about soccer. We played, but I remember my brother, he just nasal soccer. He's like thinking nasal, you know. So I remember nasal soccer. But Pele, yeah, didn't they miss his first goal? Didn't they miss his first goal? Because they were at commercial. Let me know if I'm wrong with that, but I think they missed his first Cosmos goal because they went to a commercial. You know, because soccer doesn't stop. You know. Um, and Desmond says the first baseball game was Mets playing the Braves at Shea. Hank Aaron, oh man, and he homered. Oh, see that's like so cool. You can look back and Aaron and Williams hitting home runs like that. Um, see, that's really cool. You know, seeing the players like that as a kid, and that's just that's really awesome. Hang on one sec. I got to turn down my heat. I am roasting down here. Sorry about this. That's how it always happens here. It's like I'm cold down here. I turn on the heat, and then once I get all these lights on, it starts getting to be uh real hot down here. But yeah, let me know about that Pele thing. I think it was. But yeah, getting back to the Hank Aaron, that is cool too. I think I bought what was his last season? 74. I think I bought that so I could play that. And he homered opening day, I think. Was that the record opening day that he did? But I bought that season so I could play him. And I forget what I think I bought it in app or a payoff pitch. I don't remember. Like Effect says, he'd never had much boy in the money as a family as a kid, so most of it was a Triple A Bison's games. But still, I mean, we did. I had like I said, we went to a handful of Bruins games, but all my games were minor league hockey games. You know, $10 a ticket. We get season tickets for what, $400, something like that, and you get the whole season. I mean, that was so cheap. You know, we only went to like half the games, but still, it's like we had great seats and that was a good time. Crew fan says, I saw the Oakland Raiders clobber the Jets at Shea Stadium. Turned impressionable young me into a lifelong Raider fan. Yeah, I know, right? What we're talking about here, folks, is your favorite sports moments in your life. What are some of the things that you remember, either as a kid or even as an adult, or maybe you played on the table? Just talking about some fun things here tonight. Just let us know what yours are, and I'm talking about some of my stuff as well as reading some here in the chat. Just trying to have a fun night here. Last night was a tough night at the rink. I'm not going to lie. So I said I need to do something fun here tonight because YouTube was bringing up a lot of happy memories today. I says I want to kind of continue that into tonight, and we usually have some pretty good chats here. And Mr. Brian comes by, and Rob Kasari. I was at I don't know what that is. I can't even pronounce it. Like a Chinese restaurant or something? Swarvery? That must be Finland, I'm thinking, right? I'm thinking Finland. Was that skiing? You're gonna have to help me with that because I honestly don't know what that was. And oh, you were at Super Bowl 51, Pats and the Falcons. Oh man. I I remember that game. We went down to the Chinese place and I was there with a friend of mine who really wasn't even into football. I was like, let's get out and get a couple of drinks. He's like, okay, we'll go get a couple of drinks and watch the game. And Brady threw the pick and they went down and it was 21-0 in the second quarter and finished my drink. I said, well, better luck next year. And so I went home and I forget what I did. I think I might have went to bed and I get up an hour or so later and I just happened to get on Facebook and like, can you believe this comeback? I'm like, what comeback? What are you talking about? They were getting murdered. And I get up and I watched the last couple of drives. It was pretty wild. Yeah, that was pretty unbelievable. And some road says I was at Shea in '98 when McGuire hit a 500-foot ball off the scoreboard in right field. Farthest and hardest hit ball I've ever seen. ball was still ascending when it hit 2/3 of the way up. Yeah, that's a monster shot. Monster shot. And Crew fan says he remembers that home run as well. I remember watching him because they would tune in. Was it the Cardinals he was on when he was trying to hit the big one? And I remember me and the wife watching that. We were sitting down, and they kept every time he come up to the plate, they'd cut to him his at bat so they could get it live. And they finally, got that home run to left for the record. That was kind of fun. Stuff like that's fun. That's feel good stuff when you can just kind of, just. I guess I get no, him and Sammy Sosa. They were going for the record. You know, I don't have any ill will against either one of those teams. So I was kind of rooting as a fan, I guess, for it to happen. Mr. Scott comes by. Beam me up, Scotty. Hope things are going well. The Big Red Machine says in 1993, next to the last weekend before the Indians left Cleveland Memorial Stadium, is the only person in the left field seats. Oh man, next to the last weekend away. So where did they go? They went from Cleveland. I remember Memorial Stadium because that's where the Browns played. And the Cleveland went to. I'm trying to think of their new ballpark now. Again, I don't follow the new stuff as much. Yeah, I don't remember the new stadium for Cleveland, but that's kind of cool. Crew fans, another great Shea Stadium memory for me was in the upper mezzanine in right field, and Ed Kranepool hit a home run that sailed right past our seats. My last game in Fenway, I was with my father-in-law, actually right before he passed away, and we got lost going to Fenway, so I never went back because I was like, man, if I can't get to Fenway, I don't know anything about Boston transport. I guess there's two green lines. Why you'd have two green lines? One goes to Fenway, one doesn't. And if you don't know which one, then you're going the wrong way. But it turned out to be a gorgeous day, so we ended up walking through Boston, some not so great neighborhoods, but we ended up getting to Fenway Park, and we sat down the right field line somewhere, and a ball came like within 6 seats of us. And I'm in this tiny chair, and we just got our food, and I couldn't move. I couldn't like try to even think. As long as it didn't hit me, I couldn't move because I had all this food on my lap, and I'm not spilling everything. And it landed, and somebody got it, and they're like, in all the years I've sat here, somebody told me, goes, we've never had a ball come this close. so it's like, well, that's pretty good that I come over here and almost caught a ball, and probably would have really sucked for that guy if I got it. My one and only game there, and a ball comes and some new guy gets it. But that was kind of fun. So I was in right field for that one. And John Jaha of the Brewers hit a home run. I raced home and saw myself on ESPN. That's great. That's great. What did I hear one time? Charlie Sheen bought the entire bleachers for a game. Must have been either the Dodgers or the Giants. It's someone. He bought the entire left field bleachers, and him and a buddy went, and they wanted to get a home run ball from somebody. And I think he probably even had staff coming to make sure that nobody come in. He bought them all. Said, I don't want anybody in here because I want to catch this ball. And they never did hit the home run that day. I heard that story too. And the Sub Master Chief, 2 games for him, being a Big Red Machines fan in his youth. Years later, stationed in South Carolina, went to Atlanta for Braves versus Reds game. 17 innings later, a Reds win. So that's pretty cool. 17 innings, that's a long time. But at least the Reds got the win. I will give you that one there. And Lake Effect says he likes seeing leagues for the first time on YouTube. He's been watching the KHL. I had a guy that plays in my league, or used to play in my league. His brother went over there and played in the KHL. And he was there during COVID. Remember how hard it hit China and Russia? And they shut down that league and quarantined everybody, and he couldn't even get his equipment because of how they shut everything down. His equipment was somewhere, and I figured if they sent him home or if they locked him up somewhere, because again, he's a American. And it was a wild story. He was sending the videos out. He was sending videos to his brother about what was going on over there in China and Russia at the time. And like that's when it first started. Like that was probably in December or January. That's before it came to us was it March we shut down. And he's like, I can't even get my equipment. Not only are we not playing hockey, but my like I'll get $1,000 worth of equipment all tied up, and I couldn't get it. It was quite the story. But he did play in the KHL. Tri-Fan says he was watching the Cleveland Monsters win the Calder Cup with just under 2 seconds left in OT. Easily the best hockey game he went to, and that was back in 2016. Fantastic. Scott says, I was at a Cubs game probably 25 years ago where Kerry Wood pitched a one-hitter. It was a 1-0 chilly day in May with the wind coming off the lake. I wonder how many people go to the White Sox, because you see a lot of Chicago people going to the Cubs. I wonder how many people went to the White Sox. You never hear about that. There's two teams in that city, and you hear Yankees, Mets, but you don't hear a lot of people saying, "Yeah, I was at the White Sox game." It's always I was at the Cubs game. At least that's what I hear. And Sub Master Chief, his other favorite moment was Fenway Park was able to bring 30 sailors to the park. They were the color guard for the opening and were on the field. Oh, that was pretty cool. And great game, great organization, and great fans. That was cool being out in the field like that for the color guard. They used to have that at the hockey game all the time. I don't know if they still do enough. They always have the color guard come out of the Zamboni entrance and stand there and do their thing at the hockey games. And I don't know if they still do or not. Mr. Dave comes by. I got to get back to the wrestling, Dave. I've been following everybody playing wrestling. I'm getting jealous now. I wanna play some wrestling, and so I need to do that. I need to get my champions, my belts going. And someone suggested that maybe Super Bowl Sunday at halftime I do some wrestling and see if I can crown some champions. That's not a bad idea. I don't know what's going on Super Bowl Sunday. Oh, I have to work unless they cancel the game. I got 2 games on Sunday. I get 2 games Saturday night and 2 games Sunday. I think it's 12 and 3. And the 3 o'clock game should be winding up around 5:30 or so if they play it. I'm wondering if they're still going to keep those games going because, there's so many. If Patriots are in it, I imagine a lot of the coaches and the parents and they want to go to their all day parties. I wonder if they're going to move any of those games. I meant to text the guy and say, hey, what are the chances? I'm fine either way, but I just think it's kind of funny that the Patriots make the Super Bowl and they got 2 games on Super Bowl Sunday. I'm wondering what's going to happen. But if I can get back and do it, maybe I will. I think last year I did a halftime show, and maybe a wrestling halftime show would be funny. Tri-Fan comes by, and the Swedish one. He is so sweet. He is the sweetest, Jeff. Good to see you. And Crew Fan says, oh, yeah, by the way, what we're talking here, I'll get right back to you, Crew Fan, is we're talking about your favorite sports moments in your life. Whether you saw them on TV, whether you went to the game, whether it was on your tabletop, maybe just one of the games you played, just some feel-good moments that you had in your life. And Crew Fan says, I watched the Yankees game at Shea from the press box. Now, that's pretty cool. My uncle knew a sports writer, and we got to sit up there. Yankee Stadium was under construction, so they were playing at Shea when the Mets were away. The only time I came close to that is I did high school championships from the Boston Garden, the new Boston Garden. And they sent us up in the Nesson booth with Jack and Brick, I think it was Jack and Brick at the time. And we were in the Nesson booth, like right where they do it. And we were so high up, we were over the scoreboard. So, the Fleet Center, and then, the big scoreboard in the middle, the Boston Garden, the big scoreboard in the middle, we were looking down on the scoreboard. That's how high we were. And I'm saying to myself, how did these guys even see anybody out here? I took a couple of videos and they were like little ants. These kids running around the ice, they were like ants. We were so far up. And I guess they had these big monitors there so they could see what was happening, but they didn't have the monitors for us. So we had to just kind of do our best. And I think my friend, the color guy, had a binoculars, and he was like helping me identify the people. But we were so high up in that press box. And then when you left the press box and went down the end, there was a whole like little half ring of seats, and you could sit and watch the game from up there and take your notes on the game if you wanted to. But man, you were so high. I mean, it was like a blimp view. It was crazy. The only thing that was, more than one thing was good about that, but when they did the replay, it was all the same angles as the Bruins. So all the cameras were the same spot, same everything. And when they did replays, it was my voice with this high school game from all the same angles of the Bruins game. I thought that was pretty darn cool. MVP. He goes, I had a one-on-one conversation with Al Galine. I asked for a look at his World Series ring, and he took it off, and he handed it to me. Super nice guy. Oh, that's kind of neat. I like that. I like that. Let me see. Let me see. What's Sean say? His favorite when he told his son, "You'll never know when you get to lift a championship trophy above your head again. Skate around with it." that's good. That's a good. Yeah, skate around with it. John down there. How'd you make out with the weather, John? Pele in Greenville, South Carolina, in the fall of 1995. Yeah, I remember when he come over here. That he was a big deal when he come over here. Who was the guy to come over? Was it Ronaldo? Something like that. He come over here. I haven't heard much about him, but he come over here too to help the U.S. soccer. And Jeff says he'd like to go if he could attend one to be the Miracle on Ice game in 1980. Yeah, a couple people brought that up tonight. We were talking about that, and he's sitting here chilling in his Ice 5 the Ice Storm T-shirt. It was pretty bad. I mean, there's still places, Tennessee and North Carolina that are messed up from that, from what I understand. I mean, we got buried up here. We got, I think we got 21 or 22 inches of snow, and it stopped, and then it came back, and it dumped another 3 or 4 on us. So we were up over 2 feet for that storm. And in fact, the other day I was pulling snow off my roof in the back because I got the ice dams, and that's how you get a lot of leaking and a lot of craziness. So I tried to at least pull some of the snow around the ice dam. So what happens is when the dam comes up here, it melts, it gets in, and excuse me, but I got the snow around it, so if it's melting, it might not do that. But I had to, I was on the deck trying to pull the snow off the other day. So we just got the snow. Tribe fan says the best play I've ever seen in person. Kenny Lofton robbing B.J. Surhoff of a home run in 1996. He was sitting in the mezzanine section and saw Lofton's glove go over the wall and bring it back. Some of those catches are really fantastic. They really are. They might need to do something about the outfield. So like Fenway Park, it's like 4 feet high, and it's really dangerous because that guy goes into the corner and he's going to land on people and the ball's going to hit people. I always thought, get the fence up 6 or 7 feet all around, and that way there you don't have that danger going on. It's just so crazy that it's almost in play. And Dave Little says he went to the 1990 World Series games too. Reds beat the A's when Joe Oliver knocked in the game winner off Dennis Eckersley. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of Dennis Eckersley bashing here tonight. Not bashing, but you know what I mean. We were talking about the Dodgers hit off him, Kirk Gibson, and now we get the Joe Oliver. So poor Eckersley taking a beating here. But yeah, that must have been fun. I don't think I've ever gone to any baseball playoff games. I went to one Bruins playoff game that was the finals, Eastern Finals against Washington in 1988, I think it was. I went to one game there, 4-0 win for Boston in that one. That's the only hockey playoff game, NHL game I went to. And the sub Master Chief, board game wise, I played a draft strat baseball league on board the USS Francis Scott Key with some other sailors. That's great. The Underwater League, great fun. Yes, that's pretty cool. I haven't played board games in too many places, just here and when I go on the road sometimes to conventions. Best in-person moment, seeing the Braves win the 95 World Series in Atlanta, Game 6. So you were one of 20 people there? Is that what it was? How come the Braves could never draw fans? They went to the World Series every year, it seemed like, and the place would be empty. It looked like I don't know what it looked like. There was nobody there. It was just like, it was crazy. It's like, what's going on here? And they used to talk about that. It's like, man, you got a team making the playoffs, but no one's going to see them. That's a bummer, And Mr. Field, Says, not in person, but I love watching the Bulls win in 98. Was the last time we watched basketball together as a family. Once Michael retired, my mom stopped caring. Used to love family watching Bulls games with his kid. You know, I can hear that and understand that because my my grandparents would watch the Bruins with Bobby Orr, and once Bobby Orr left, they they just didn't watch it nearly as much. But they again me growing up as a kid, a big hockey guy, uh, you know Bobby Orr was big for them. In fact, they took me in 1979. They took me to Montreal for a Bruins game, just the three of us. My brother wasn't big into hockey, and I was, and they took me to Montreal. I think it was in '77, and I'm '79. And you know why I remember that? The Bruins lost, of course, to Montreal. Ray Bourque was wearing number 7, so that's what it was. And I still got some I had an old crappy camera, so I got some pictures from the nosebleed seats of that game somewhere. But it was yeah, Ray Bourque was wearing number 7 in that game. He hadn't switched to 77 yet, and I think it was 1979. I think it was. And my buddy Ray says he made a save on me one time. He still has the ball. Well, that's the only shot I got on you. Ray, by the way, is a goalie, and he's the only goalie I know to pull himself when his team's up by a goal. Brilliant strategy, by the way. They ended up winning the game, but he goes to the bench with his team winning by a goal. And he says, "You mean we're winning?" And they're like, "Yeah, get back in that net." And he's like, I think I'll stay here. And they did. They hung on for the win. Brilliant move. I tell you, that's a Bill Belichick move if I've ever seen one in hockey. John. We don't want to talk worst moments, but I guess we will. Braves lose the '92 World Series in Atlanta, so he's got the winning one and the losing one. Yeah. Brian says a couple years ago in an SPHL game. Now, is that the Southern Professional Hockey League? Is that down there in Florida area? I think it was SPHL. Last game of the regular season, Quad City. Is that the Mallards, the Quad City Mallards? Scored on a dump-in with 1 second left, and the puck took a crazy bounce against Evansville. And I don't know who Evansville was. Wind pushed the Quad City out of last place. That is pretty cool. When we went down for our honeymoon, again, this is 30 years ago. We were in Orlando. We drove. We had a car, so we drove into Orlando. We drove by where the Solar Bears play, and I was like, "Oh man, we got to come back and see a Solar Bears game." I thought the Orlando Solar Bears. It was a cool team name, and the jerseys were really cool back then. I think they were playing in the East Coast League back then. Yeah, I always wanted to do that. Trap fan. Cleveland Indians went from Municipal Stadium to Jacobs Field, which got renamed Progressive Field. That's right. Okay. I get that. All right. I'm behind in my comments here. I've been kind of, commenting them. We'll get there. First baseball game I ever attended was at the Vet in '78. Cardinals, Phillies, Lou Brock, Hernandez, Schmidt, many others. Nothing like seeing a game in person. Oh yeah, with those guys. Yeah, I mean just the idea of seeing those names, just the names you grew up with, seeing those there, and that's a good time. I was at a Bruins game one time, and first row balcony at the old Boston Garden. And first row balcony, you were almost over the ice. I mean, it was the best seats, right? So we're right over the blue line, first row balcony, and Ray Bourque's playing, and Bourque would just go like he'd play, he'd go on the bench, guy would come out. Come back. Bourque goes back out. Bourque does his thing, goes up, comes to the bench. Guy goes out. It was just like bing, boom, bing, boom. Bourque on, Bourque off, Bourque on. It was just like incredible. Just he didn't sit for more than like a few seconds, and he'd be back out to do his thing, go back and sit. It was just on and off, on and off. It was really, really cool to see, and you could just watched him the whole time. It was really fun. Let's see here in the chat here. John, the best, going to 3 straight games at Wrigley with his dad and going to Fenway with his dad in the summer of 1988. Fenway's fun to go to. I really wish they'd have a different stadium, something not in the city. I don't like going into the city. I'd like to see something out of the city, and I would definitely go to that. Yeah, municipal, the mistake by the lake. Um, and let's see, not a memory, but my very first life story. His birthday, October '83. He was born during the second quarter of Monday Night Football, Jets and Bills. My birth is frustrating for more than just my mom. Oh, that's a good story. That's a good story. Crew fans, this is another great memory. Seeing Tom Seaver pitch opening day for the Mets and his return to the team at Shea. I think it's around '83. Yeah, you guys went to a lot of ball games. I did mostly the hockey. Oh, I remember that. Len Bias. Yeah, it's too bad. His last collegiate game before he passed away after getting drafted by the Celtics. I remember I was in the shower and I had the radio on. I always like to listen to radio in the shower, and sports radio was on, and they said that. And I remember, and I wasn't even a big Celtics fan, but I knew the name and I knew he was really good. And I was like, really? He died? And yeah, I remember I was in the shower when I heard that. Oh, oh, you were there when Tony C got hit with a ball. Oh man, that must have been terrible. Yeah, that is a sad night. That is a sad night. I don't want to talk about the sad stuff. Uh, World's worst gamer says he's celebrating the Dodgers beating the Yankees with a wild comeback to win the series in 2024. Um, that was a good memory there. That game last year, what was it, Seattle or Toronto? I forget who played in the World Series last year. I watched that whole last game. That was fantastic. So many chances to win it, inches away. It really was. It was a incredible game, and I think the Dodgers won, but it still was incredible. I was gonna get that World Series and play those teams. I never did, but I kind of wanted to. Um, the White Sox game most people remember is Disco Demolition Night from '79. What I think I remember hearing about that. I do. I think I remember hearing about that. Let's see. And the Cardboard Commander says, I got to see the final NC State beating Houston in the pit. The best game of the tournament was Louisville versus Houston. Those five slammer jammers. So some good basketball going there. And Desmond says, makes me think of another favorite sports memory. I just moved to Chicago and was studying the improv comedy and was walking home one night and on a street corner was, I got to go pick up the rest of that. This baseball palace. It was Wrigley Field, just right there in the neighborhood. That's how Fenway is. You're walking around, it's like boom, there's Fenway. It's like a little league field just pops out of nowhere, and it's this big stadium. It's just right there. Yeah, it's a neighborhood field. It is. It's right in the middle of everything. It is kind of crazy. Let's see. Back in the chat here. And the Big Red Machine says during COVID, WWE had the video boards at the Performance Center. I made it on the TV during SmackDown. Nice. We got on TV on Nesson a couple times when they did the minor league games, and because we sat right behind the net, so when they scored goals, there was a camera that would face right on us. So we got on TV on Nesson many times when they had the minor league games. Yep. Yeah, mean work. I know. The story I could have told you from last night. Unbelievable. Oh well, what can you do? Working on Super Bowl Sunday, you're gonna miss the Pats. Again, I don't watch a lot of that stuff. I know it's the Pats and the whole bit. I didn't even watch the last few Brady Super Bowls. I just couldn't bring myself to watch it. That's just me. I get too worked up. I'll tune in and I'll check the score and whatever. But I usually play a game or something during the Super Bowl. Let's see. Sweetest Jess says watching the Cubs win the World Series in 2016 from his living room at 1 a.m. was wonderful. Didn't go to bed till 3:30 that night, but went to work. I was all giddy that day. I remember so many of the Patriots Super Bowls, and whether I watched the whole game with friends or whether sometimes I just like to watch it myself. So I get up and that Atlanta game I caught the end of, and even the Rams game that with the last two Super Bowls I think it was. I'm up all night listening to talk radio when they win it. I don't like to watch the game because I get too worked up about it. I just do. But I like listening to the talk radio after. Even when they lose, I like to listen to it. And when they win, it's just again, I'm up till like 5 in the morning listening to talk radio. And what's twice this has happened to me is I'd have my teeth cleaning at the dentist scheduled. It was always a Monday, and it was always the Monday after the Super Bowl. And I'm up till 5 in the morning, like I say, giddy and listening to the radio. It's like I ain't getting up at eight now to go to get my teeth cleaned. And so many times I'd have to cancel. I'm like, I didn't realize it was going to be the day after the Super Bowl and the Patriots in the Super Bowl. It says I'm not going to be in any shape to get my teeth cleaned. So yeah, twice I had to cancel a teeth cleaning. So now I'm a little bit more conscious of it. A little. Do I have a teeth cleaning Monday? I probably do. Oh man. And that Cubs game was in May of 2001. The Cubs beat the Brewers 1-0. Wood had 14 strikeouts, and the Cubs had 4 hits, and Rondell White had that only home run. Nice. And Michael comes by and says, I was at Fenway on the last day of the regular season in '90 when Tom Brunansky made the sliding catch to win the division. I remember that one. I think I've seen a lot of different angles of that one too. That was pretty cool. Jeff says, my favorite APA baseball moment was playing my first game in years a couple years ago. Replaying the '94 playoffs last fall was so much fun too. I've had so much fun playing a lot of my games actually. APA football, APA baseball, the payoff pitch, anything like that. Hockey bones. I love playing all these games. Fast drive football. I mean, so many great memories. Crew fan says watching from the press booth at Shays was fun. Reporters banging away on typewriters, smoking cigars, like Oscar Madison. It was something else. It was 75. Yeah, that's the way it was. That's the way it was. Mr. Gus comes by, and again, we're talking about your favorite sports moment in your life. And it could be anything. It could be a game you went to, a game you watched with some family, or maybe even a tabletop memory here. We're just kind of having a good time here talking about some fun sports memories of the past. And Gus says, my greatest sports moments was seeing Pearl Washington for Syracuse beat Boston College with a half-court line and going to Game 2 of the '98 World Series. Okay, I'm trying to follow that one. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. There are two different ones. Okay. Okay. I get it. Sports moments. Pearl Washington for Syracuse beating Boston College with a half-court line and going to Game 2 of the '98 World Series. San Diego and the Yankees. Okay. Okay. He got his tickets for free from work, and his wife was a huge Yankees fan. Okay. I was merging them together, and I wanted to change that up. Let's see. The Phillies won the series in '80. He grew up a Phillies fan. It's always fun. I didn't get any championships as a kid. Nothing. I got the Celtics in '80, no, '79, '80, and then some of the '80s. Yeah. So I got Celtics. That's all I got. We didn't get any Bruins after '72, and we didn't get any Red Sox or Patriots until Patriots went to the Super Bowl once in the '80s and the '90s, but they didn't win. But so when we started winning, all those World Series and Super Bowls and snuck in that Stanley Cup, and even the Celtics won some as well. It's like it made up for all my moments as a kid. Although I easily, I said my mom told me the next morning the Phillies won. Oh yeah, I said, yeah, I hated going to bed when the playoffs are on. Yeah, yeah, and you have to go to bed. And it was like no internet or stuff like that, so you didn't know the next morning till what happened. You turn on the news, Um, uh, but yeah, so I didn't get. I would trade one of my adult championships for one as a kid. I really would. I really would. Maybe that's a topic for a show. And Christopher comes by. I was at the Francisco Cordova Ricardo Ricon combined 10-inning no-hitter for the Pirates and the Astros at Three Rivers. Oh, Three Rivers must have been fun to go to. I love those old National League parks that were all artificial turf and stuff, and they were boring and bland. I do. I like that. I don't know why. I do like that. I really do. Um, let me see. And Mark Smith hit a 3-run homer for the Buccos in the bottom of the 10th. Must have been a walk-off. And Mr. Keith comes by. Good to see you. Yeah, we're just kind of having some fun here tonight. I'd like to know what some of your memories are. And I guess as an addendum, how does it tie into what we play? I mean, is some of those memories, do you go back and want to play some of those games you went to and relive those memories on your tabletop? I guess that's another thing we could talk about too. And Jeff says that he had snow, but it wasn't as bad as other places. He worked from home on Monday. He went back to work yesterday, and things are normal. Good for you. Things aren't normal here yet with the snow. We still have piles everywhere. Um, but the roads are pretty much clean. Although, oh my gosh, last night, I come home last night and I'm home for about 20 minutes, a half hour, and I get a notice that another wrong way driver, and it was maybe a couple of miles from where I got off the highway. We've had 3 wrong way drivers in 3 months. It's like one a month. Maybe 4. I don't remember. But one of them I saw the remnants of the accident. I went by it. It was on the other side, and I saw all the mess. And then the other one, I just missed it. It happened after I went by because someone who was behind me said they saw it. And then here's this one. So when I pulled off the highway, it was about a mile or 2 in front of me. That's how close I've come to some of these things. It's like, you got to be kidding me. It's like, what is going on with all these people going the wrong way on the highway? You never heard of that. It was like once a year you'd hear of it. Now it's like every 3 weeks. Oh, man. Crazy times here. JT, Mr. Dutch says, I went to game 3 of the 2012 Stanley Cup Finals. The Kings won 4-0 and won their first Stanley Cup a few days later. Good times. What I remember about that, JT, is they had was it, I don't know, it wasn't PAX West. I want to say it was Triple E, the Electronics Entertainment and something or other, and that's where they had a lot of the video game stuff going on. And that was right in LA. And I remember, I was playing a lot of video games back then, so I would watch for the Xbox coverage. And there was one of the guys there that was, I forget his name. His name was Major Nelson, I think his name was Larry Herb, and he did the Xbox coverage for Microsoft. And so he's in LA at this electronics thing. I think it was the Triple E, and the Kings were playing a home game in the Stanley Cup. And it's like right next door. And he said, the place is, he goes, you can't play. He goes, what are the chances the Kings are in the Stanley Cup and they're playing here at home at when we're doing this electronics convention? He says, it's just nuts around here. And so I think I remember that, that Kings Stanley Cup run. And they were at home during that time. And that was a big deal for the Kings fans. And Christopher says the Navy ship he was stationed on in Boston for a week in 90 got to see 3 Bruins games at the Gardens: Nordiques, Flyers, and the Whalers. Wow, a couple of those teams don't exist anymore, and the Flyers, they don't have a goalie anymore. So Raymond's been busting my chops, by the way. So I owe Ray Barrett a ball busting comment back. He was talking about I won't get into what we were talking about on Facebook, but he took a jab at me, and I was like, oh really? Oh, really? John says he had 3 inches of sleet and ice. He worked from home for 4 to 5 days, but he stayed off the road. Didn't affect him too much. The big thing is about down south is they get crippled with just that little bit of snow and ice. But if it can warm up the next day, which it usually does, or in 2 days, then you're out of it. Here we get it, and this snow is going to be here probably until late March or April. It's just I don't see it going anywhere. We just haven't had any warm up at all. So that's the difference. Down south, you get crippled, but it's a short cripple because then everything melts off. I think. I could be very wrong. Gus also says other great moments as a Bills fan was being there for Don Shula's last game, and he lost in the playoffs. Wasn't a Shula guy. I thought he was a little arrogant. I just didn't like him. And Sean says he got to see his Devils eliminate the Bruins, and his Devils went on to win the Stanley Cup versus the Ducks that year. So he was a happy boy. Jeff says, actually started opening day 81 for the Red Sox at Fenway versus the White Sox. Carlton Fisk hit a home run that game in his first game back. That was odd seeing Fisk go. I don't even know why they let him go to Chicago. It was odd because he was still very good for quite a few years. Um, Jeff says the Braves were really popular here in the South, but I think after losing so many World Series, a lot of people moved on to football. Football is popular at college and pro. When I was last time I was down in Florida, that was many years ago. I remember grabbing the newspaper, and you couldn't find any hockey game scores, but you could get tons of high school football scores. It was just the whole sports page was high school football, and there might have been a little section down here. Oh, by the way, Tampa Bay Lightning lost 2-1. Yeah, that's just kind of how it was down there. Probably still is. And Christopher says, I was at an Angels-Orioles game at Camden Yards. I forgot the year, where Vlad Guerrero threw out the tying run at the plate for the third out in the bottom of the ninth. That's always fun when you get a great play to end the game. It really is. And yeah, just having some fun here tonight. Just to talk about some fun stuff here. Yeah, and JT says the book switched to 77 when the Bruins retired 70 for Espo. I watched that live. We were watching the game, and Bork come out and did that, and no one saw it coming. No one saw it coming. Not even Esposito. He was shocked. I still watch that from time to time. That'll come up on YouTube, and I'll watch that. Feel good moment for the Bruins there. I remember exactly where I was, too. I was in a trailer, watching it in a trailer as a kid. I grew up in a trailer park. Yes, I did. Let's see. And then John says, lived in Atlanta 9 years, lousy pro sports town because the people move there from all over the country with their own sports ties. And college football is king in Georgia. That would make sense. I hear that's what goes on down in like the Tampa area. Is no one really goes to the Devil Ray games, but if the Yankees or the Red Sox come in, boom, they're there. Although I gotta say, Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers, they've done very well for themselves as far as hockey goes, and they've drawn in the crowd. So good for them. Good for them. But the Devil Rays not so much. And I don't know if the Florida Marlins still have a team. Did they move? Are they still there? I think they might have moved. And Keith says, got my tickets for my middle brother for the 2 rounds of our Cap Stanley Cup run in '97. Wins versus Boston and Ottawa. Then it got really expensive. Yeah, they go up and up and up. It really does. But that one playoff game I went to was really fun. And back in the day, it seemed to be more like nowadays. It seems like everybody makes the playoffs. Maybe it was the same amount of teams, but it just feels like everybody makes the playoffs now. What was kind of fun is, was it last night? Last night at the rink, I was looking. I was like, I want to play some of my. I got the itch to play 74, 75 hockey, and I said I might just do the playoffs. So I'm looking at the playoff matchups. I'm like, wow, these are weird. And so it looked like what they did for the playoffs is they took the 4 divisions. If you won the division, you got a bye in round 1. And then they took the next best 8 teams, and then they seeded them and they played. So 4 teams are out. So that leaves the 4 surviving teams plus the 4 bye teams. So you got 8 teams now. Nice round number. They reseeded them. So how it worked out, I think it was Boston, Philadelphia, and Montreal, or it was Buffalo, Philadelphia, and Montreal were the top 3 teams with 113 points. And Vancouver won their division with like 86 points. So when they reseeded, Vancouver wasn't even a top 4 team. They were like a 6 seed because when they slotted them in, there were, I think, Pittsburgh and New York had 88 points. So it was like Philadelphia, Boston, or Buffalo, Montreal, and then New York, Pittsburgh, and then Vancouver. So they were like way down. I don't even know if they got a home advantage in the series or not. They did get a bye in the first round, but it's just really weird how they did that. So I'm trying to figure. I'm like, this guy's playing this guy, this guy's playing this guy, and that's how they did it. I think it's kind of neat, actually. Okay, we'll give you the bye, but then they're going to go by points and reseed it. So, um, and Bob comes by. Good to see you, Bob. He goes, we had season tickets for the Solar Bears. Very nice. In 98, 99. We were there in 96. We were there in 96. My roommate was a tattoo artist, and his shop advertised for them, so they had 4 free seats. Great teams for the ECHL. Yep. Again, if we were down there in the winter, we would have gone. And they're talking about some trades in here, but D Scott comes by. D, you could probably go on forever with some of the stuff that you did. You've probably been to some great games. Sitting above home plate at the Kingdome. Wow, the Kingdome. That's been taken down, right? There's no more Kingdome. Is that like the Astrodome? That they took down the Astrodome too, right? Or is the Astrodome still standing and they're using it for some things? I forget now. Game 5, 95, ends over the Yankees at Edgar's double, scoring Griffey Jr. in 1995. Good stuff, D. Sweetest Jeff says, I used to go to the South Carolina Stingrays minor league games in the mid-90s. The Stingrays are really good. So many memories of them. I used to write for a hockey magazine. Oh, I still kept a few of them. I want to say it was right around that time. And I would write, I cover the AHL teams up here, Worcester and Manchester. But the whole magazine was geared around minor league. So you had the East Coast, you had the Central Hockey League that was in there too, and it was a fun time writing for those magazines there. And Bob says my only playoff NHL game I went to was a triple OT game. Devils beat Tampa. That must have been a long night. Triple overtime. That's what. So that's 5 periods plus, however long they go. That's a long night. That's a long night. That's I'm tired for work the next day type of night. Dave Little said, I was a professional WWF wrestler for many years. No, I'm kidding. He played Little League Baseball for 7 years, during which time I hit 2 home runs. I remember like that. It was yesterday. A buddy of mine was playing first base for the other team, and he gave me a high five. I played Little League right up until 1980. I was in junior high. I don't know what year I was in junior high. And the very first game, very first at bat, my buddy was pitching, and I smacked a triple off him. I hit it over the left fielder's head and just got the third base. I don't think we had a fence back there, so you couldn't really hit a home run. So he just kept chasing the ball, and I wasn't a fast runner, but I got the third base. And the next day I'm ribbing, and he's like, oh, that kid, he misplayed that ball. I said, no, I smacked it, dude. I smacked it off you. And we won the championship that year. I was pretty happy about that. We were the Angels. We were the Angels, and we beat the Padres, I think it was the name of the teams. Enzo says the Mookie ground ball to Buckner was great. Yeah, well, it's part of history. What can you do? What can you do? And Bob says he was at the Pine Tar game as a kid, and that's crazy. Who did we have on? We had a guest on the show, and when we asked him about like what game to go back and see, he says, I want to go back to the Pine Tar game because I went with my uncle and we left early and they missed it. And I don't remember who that was. We had a lot of guests on the show, and one of them brought that up. And I remember, I think it was me and Ron, but it's like, wow, what are the chances that happens, right? Wow. So the Pine Tar game, imagine leaving that one there. And Jeff says Appa Baseball is going to make his triumphant return to his table soon. Yeah, I need to do the same thing. I want to get back to that the 84 co-op project. That's fun. And just some in general. Again, I have the 2004 Final Four teams. I'd like to kind of play them out. I'd like to see what happened if the Yankees played the Cardinals and if the Red Sox played the Astros or something. I think Clemens was on that team. So that could be kind of fun. Mr. Baseman comes by, slapping the base. And Lake Effect says he got to meet Rob Ray. Is he now doing like some of the TV stuff? I think he's doing now for the NHL Network or something like that. I think he's doing that. And Some Road says I was gifted some nice Colorado Mets games at Shea. He doesn't remember the year, but he had 2 tickets in the front row of Seinfeld. Had 2 tickets 2 rows in front of Seinfeld. Yeah, it must be in the front row. Got starstruck, asked for an autograph, and was told no. Yeah, I that stinks. And Barbara said that she had many dinners with Mike Ritker back in the day. That's fantastic. Was that when you were working at the Waffle House, Barbara? Was that when you were working at the Waffle House? He would come in and you guys had dinner. Is that how that worked out? Trying to wonder. And to be fair, he got harassed the whole game once he was found by fans yelling, "Where's Kramer?" Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, yep. Um, that one time, one of the minor league games we went to, Bobby Orr was there, and I remember somebody saw him and they went up and asked for autographs, and so he was really good about it. So there was a lot. I actually went up and got an autograph too, and he signed it, whatever he wanted to sign, no issues at all. But when the Zamboni ended and the period started, you left him alone. And people are like, look, he's here to work. He was scouting something, so he'll be between periods. He'll do it, but you need to let him do his job. And everybody was pretty cool about it, and he was cool about it. And that's the way to do it. It's like, okay, if you didn't get an autograph, maybe come back next period. But he is here to get some work done, and he was very good about it. I got to say, I'm not sure where I put that autograph. He signed one of my league. I had like a league newsletter I brought, and he signed that. That was pretty cool. I'm like Billy Bean. He's into it, but doesn't watch the actual game. I don't know what Billy Bean is, but yeah, I do. I get too upset when I watch the game and it's not going well. So I'd rather like tune in later. I just that's just me. That's just me. That's how it is. And Jeff says he did go to a Braves Marlins game in 09. David Ross hit a home run for Atlanta. And his sister and nephew went with me, which is cool. But the Miami ballpark was terrible. I never been there. Never been there. Sean says that he, as far as sports sims, he was managing the Field of Dreams League, and we had one of the greatest regular season wins ever, but choked in the playoffs. I guess that's how it goes, right? We kind of burn ourselves on the playoffs, Oh, did Barbara have dinner with Richter when he ripped the Canadian Hearts out during the '96 World Cup? Maybe. It must have been that great food over there at the Waffle House. Some Road says I stayed at a field-facing room at the Rogers Center. Oh, I seen pictures of those. That must have been pretty cool. Watch the game laying in the hotel bed, once in a lifetime experience. That must have been really cool. I would love to do something like that myself, just being in the hotel room where the game's going on. That would be kind of neat. I remember on that trip to Canada, I told you when my grandparents took me up to, I think it was in '79. And it was late in the season, but it was snowing up there in Montreal really bad. And I remember we went, I don't know if we were at a restaurant or if it was the hotel restaurant, but we were sitting in there watching the snow come down, like right against the window. And you could just see like the cars and the buses sliding everywhere. And that was kind of neat, just, watching that. Kind of reminded me of like watching a game from the hotel. So we were in the hotel just sitting there having my French fries as a kid and just watching cars navigate the snow in the downtown Montreal. That was kind of neat. Jeff says the Phillies went to the NLCS 3 years in a row and lost. Heartbreaking losses, but they came back in '80. Yes, they did. And then he became a Cubs fan. Why? I don't know. I don't know why he'd become a Cubs fan, Let's see here. If wrestling counts, it does. I'll get into some wrestling. We can talk wrestling. You guys like the wrestling, so we'll do wrestling. I saw Pedro Morales win the Intercontinental title from Don Morocco at MSG. Great match, great memory. I saw Adrian Adonis, who was my favorite wrestler, put Pedro Morales in a sleeper hold. Should have won the Intercontinental title, but he didn't go to sleep. And Pedro fought out of it and beat Adrian. I don't know if it was a disqualification or if he pinned him, but as a kid, that would have been something else to see Adrian win the Intercontinental title. But alas, Pedro Morales did win, you know. I'm a little behind in the chat. I apologize. I'm trying to catch up here. The old cement donut full turf stadiums of the 70s and 80s. Beautiful. I love those. I love those. You know why I love those? Because I didn't get to see them that much as a kid. When I was a kid, it was all green. It was Fenway. It was Yankee Stadium. It was Cleveland. It was Baltimore. That's all we got. I mean, occasionally, I think Kansas City might have been AstroTurf, I think. But we never got the National League. The National League with all the bullpens down the right field line and left field line. It just was it was a mystique to that because we didn't see it that much, you know. And I said I went to a ton of games at the vet. Yeah, good times there. And yes, wrestling counts. Wrestling does count. And I just told one of my wrestling stories. Yep. Jeff says he loves replaying games on his tabletop and computer for the nostalgia, but also to relive those moments and see if history will repeat itself, which it rarely does. Yes, that might be another good show topic, is to talk about, have you ever got history to repeat itself? When you played a game, I mean, I've played so many one-off games just trying to see what I could do, and they've never been close. Never been close. I don't think I've really hit anything close when I tried to. When I said, let's see how this plays out, I was never close. Let me see back here in the chat. Let's see, guys talking about Mike Richter. And yeah, this hasn't gone full Waffle House yet. Yep. And where's ST when you need him? His ears should be ringing. Now we're talking Waffle House, right? Jeff played on a co-ed softball league, won the championship. Never got to play Little League, which he regretted, but that was so much fun. Yeah, we won that title there. I was a pretty good ball player. I was a second baseman. I was a pretty good ball player. I could hit pretty well. The Waffle House Championship. Yeah, that might have to be Super Bowl Sunday. Depending how it goes. The Waffle House Rumble Championship. I got to figure it out. I haven't had a chance to sit down. I just been trying to get work done. I'm so far behind with that, and just the cold is. I've been spending a lot of time in bed with electric blanket. Well, let me tell you, I haven't really played many games lately. Excuse me. Just because I just like I say, just kind of working and being cold and things like that. So I need to get back to that, but I want to get the wrestling going on the channel again. Jeff says my second choice for a game I would have loved to see in person with the Oilers Bills. Yep, remember that Oilers Bills comeback? I remember that one. Was it 92, right? My 91 or 92. My friend just got his pilot's license. And what he would do, he'd say, hey, I need to get so many hours in the air and I got to rent the plane. He goes, if you guys want to come up with me and, chip in for the plane rental, I'll take you up flying. So sure. So we went up with him a couple of times and we got in this tiny plane. And I remember we flew up to, I think it was Maine, and it was during that game. And so we flew in and landed, went in and, got ourselves a soda or something. Obviously we're not drinking. And a bag of chips or something. And in this little airport restaurant, they had the game on. And the Oilers were crushing the Bills. And at the time, I didn't want the Bills to win because, they had beat the Patriots in the division. So I was like, okay, yeah, this would be great. So the Oilers are crushing them, right? We got in the plane, flew back home. By the time I got home, the game had changed. And I was flying around in a little plane that day, the day that game was played. Fun times. Still a great comeback. Great comeback. Every now and then I want to pull out and see if I can play that game to see what it would be. Enzo says, not a major event, but in 73, he was at a Met game where Don Hahn and George Theodore collided and Ralph Garr hit an inside-the-park home run. I like Garr ever since and play him all the time in my sim. Sometimes that's fun. You go back and you see a memory like that. I want to play that guy. I do. Sean says he has some good experiences at Tiger Stadium. I've always liked the look of Tiger Stadium. Obviously, I'd never been there, but I like the look of it. Like I know when Ron plays his baseball and he's at Tiger Stadium, I always comment. I says I love looking at the stadium. I really do. And the Outlaw comes by. Says NC State 83 men's championship. One of the most incredible sports stories I've ever seen. Outlaw, I actually have. Is this it over here? I still haven't unboxed it yet. Joe Bryan gave me this in Colorado, and this was the I think this set here for bank shot basketball is the only college set I have. Okay, I'm not a college guy, but in this one here, it does have that NC State team, and so I do want to go back and play that game. I think that's the only college basketball game I've ever watched start to finish, and I don't know why because it was '83, so obviously I didn't have my license yet, and I was sitting home, and it must have been not on a school night because I wasn't forced to go to bed or anything like that. And I remember about this game for NC State, there was this, they couldn't hit anything. And this one guy kept hitting these long shots. And that's what kept him in the game. He was the only guy hitting anything. Again, this is my recollection of the game. And at the last second, he had a chance to win it. And he took this really long shot and it come up short. And the other guy caught it and threw it in for the win. And I felt so bad because this guy was hitting him from outside all game long. And he was the only reason NC State was still in the game. That is my recollection of the game. So again, that's something I do want to play on the table here. And Enzo says he went to see Hank Aaron, who wasn't in the lineup. Oh, that must stink. I remember the story. Who was it? Who had the it was a New York Yankee player. One of the famous Yankees. There's so many of them. And I forget what the story was, but it was like, or maybe it was Ted Williams. Maybe it was Ted Williams. It was either Ted Williams or one of the Yankees. Like I'll pick your man, your Yankee fan. And it was late in the season, and they either weren't in the playoffs or were in the playoffs, and the game meant nothing. And they were talking to him, and he says, "Why are you even playing in this game? Because this game really means nothing." And the guy says, "You know something?" Goes, "Somebody might have come here today to see me play, and I don't want to be sitting on the bench." I thought that was really cool. He could have been resting and not risking injury, but he said, and I forget if it was Williams or if it was one of the Yankees that said that. And he just said, somebody might be coming here to watch me play, and I don't want to be sitting on the bench. Alan comes by. Good to see you, Alan. He goes, I was at 2 straight games at Jerry Park in Montreal. Oh, that must have been cool. Expos Cubs, a very strange place. Actually, a park with kids playing on a playground behind the right field fence. Did they have the pool back there? Is that the place they had the pool? So you could be sitting in the pool, and I don't know if you could see the game because the pool was down low, but yeah, I seen pictures of that Jerry Park. That is very weird. Michael comes by. Good to see you, Michael. I haven't talked to you in a bit. Hopefully things are well. Hopefully you recovered from that fall. 2 events that I was in attendance. The Bucky Dent homer. No kidding. Oh, I watched that game. Oh, man, I remember watching it. And the Bills-Giants Super Bowl. You were at the Bills-Giants Super Bowl? Holy dude, those are some big games. Those are not little ones. Those are big games. Michael, wow. Wow. Well, next time we chat, we're going to have to talk about those. I'd like to know what was going on with those. I really do. I want to know what was happening. Jeff says, I think the Rays would do much better if they had a stadium in the Tampa area. And Tampa tried to get the White Sox and the Giants, and they failed. I did not know that. And the Rays should have a new stadium soon. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of hearing. And yeah, Jerry Park is bizarre. And now it's a tennis court. Interesting. You think the Astrodome is still standing, but it's in bad shape. And I'm behind in the chat. I'm sorry, I've been reading them here. I just noticed that it's got a timestamp on the chat, and so these are from quite a few minutes ago. I'm sorry about that. We get a lot of people in the chat here tonight. Which is how slow I am sometimes with the chat. Yeah, I thought it was still standing. I thought they had like car shows in there or something like that too, or maybe now it's just storage. And And Sean said he really wanted to see the Mariners in the Kingdome. I would like to see the Seahawks in the Kingdome. That would have been fun. Jeff says he remembers watching the Stanley Cup on TV in '95, Rangers and Devils. And Devils sign said, "Welcome to hell." Yep. Yeah, Griffey scoring in that game must have been electric. Yeah, some of those times it is electric when you go to those places. It really is. Put wrestling on the table. Oh, waffles are gonna stop flying. Yeah, I gotta see if I can do that Sunday. I gotta see if I can remember how to play that game. Yeah, we're slinging the waffles around. Yep. Has an NHL player ever eaten at the Waffle House? I think that's mandatory, right? One time you have to eat there. Yep. Ate and brawled. Yeah. 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 Right. Right. Let me try to catch up in the chat here. I'm way behind here. Now I'm only 9 minutes behind here in the chat. Rowdy comes by. Most memorable sports moment was the '89 World Series when the earthquake hit. Ooh. As a 7-year-old, it was really unreal to watch that play out on TV. Yeah, I can imagine. As a kid, yeah. Yeah, that must have been really weird. Really weird. Um, Anything you want, Cutter. Anything you want. We're talking about some of our um, favorite sports moments. Again, if I put it up here, in your life, favorite sports moments. Did it happen on the tabletop? Was it on TV? Did you go to one? We're just kind of having a feel good moment here tonight, talking about some things that just make us feel nice, warm, and fuzzy inside. Barbara's having internet problems. Oh boy, hopefully it's not me or YouTube. I'm not getting any warnings here that says my connection is bad. Let me see if I change the scene. Sometimes that shakes things up. Sometimes. Jeff said he played second base. He started in the outfield and stunk. Moved to second base and took it like a duck to water. What I liked about second base is when the righties were up, and there was a lot of righties when we were kids, that you covered the bag for the steals. I used to like that. I did. Um, Is he back in the chat here? Yeah, it's all good. TV, live, tabletop. It's whatever we want to talk about here. Just having some fun talking about some of our favorite sports moments here. So Keith comes by and says, "Hey, if we're talking tabletop sports, and we are, during that dreaded time of 2020, I introduced my mother to history making baseball in the 1960 World Series. Interesting. She kept score at Game 7 in her high school days. Her Pirates beat my Yankees 4-0. That's kind of cool that your mom would do that. I don't have anybody here that wants to be involved. They just don't care. I've showed a couple of people, and they're just like, yeah, not interested. Okay. Then I'll just do it. And her Billy Mazarowski did well. She had such a crush on him. Yep, cool. As Okada says, watching the MLB Batista 2015 home run, the Raptors in 2019, and Panarin's 5-goal game in the NHL, and any Pats Super Bowl title. And there's a lot to choose from. Just saying. Jeff says the cool thing about going to minor league games is seeing guys who later became major league or professionals and have success. Steve Shields was Stingrays goalie, and he had a long career. Yeah, we saw a lot of people when the Ice Cast we went to. There were a lot of St. Louis Blues, and a lot of guys. Steve Stais was an Ice Cat, and he went up. I think he ended up being captain of like the Edmonton Oilers for a while. There were a lot of guys that went to the Worcester organization. Providence come in, so we saw a lot of. We saw Jim Carey when he played with Portland, Maine, and then he went to the Washington Capitals. I think he won AHL and NHL goalie of the year in that same year, which is weird. It was like 95 or something like that, but he was really good. A lot of Bruins we saw go through Providence up to Boston. It was kind of fun. So yeah, but now in Worcester it's the East Coast League, and it's just those guys aren't good. I mean, they're fantastic hockey players, but they're now 2 steps away, sometimes 3 steps away from going to the NHL. So the good news is that the East Coast, you didn't lose anybody. For the most part, you kept your guys. In the AHL, you lost a lot of guys that got called up. So you'd be having this incredible year, and then your best guy gets called up, and now you're like, ugh. But that's how the AHL was. You were developing guys. So So it was, again, double-edged swords there, but it was kind of fun. J double A comes by. Big sports moment was when the Giants beat the Niners in the 91 NFC Championship game. They had some great series. The Giants and the 49ers. So many great NFC Championship games. There were so many to count. And then Joe Carter's walk-off home run. Yep, that was another good one. It really was. Outlaw says he wants to try bank shot basketball. I hear a lot of good things about it. Bank shot basketball is really good. Really good. It's a long play game, but it is really fun. It's easy to set up. It's fairly easy to play. I really like it. And I'm not a basketball guy, and I really like it. It just takes a while to play if you want to play the full game out, but it's so good. I've played a handful of games, and it's so fun. It really is. It's so fun. So Carter says, as far as live, he likes the Jays upsetting the 98 Yankees. None for the NBA or the NFL and the NHL. A few Leaf games, but nothing memorable. But he did go to some Kitchener Rangers games. I remember listening to a lot of Kitchener Ranger games. One of the apartments I lived in, I had a really good AM radio, and I was picking up I'm listening to the Rangers. Oh, it was the Kitchener Rangers. Clear as a bell. Clear as a bell. I'll be listening to a lot of Kitchener Rangers games, Yes, that was a good story. Yeah. Maybe it was DiMaggio that said that. He said, I want to be here in case somebody wants to see me play. You might be right. I don't remember which one it was. In the feeder system for the Hershey Bears. The Hershey, who are they with? Hershey Bears. When I was watching the Hershey Bears, I forget who their team was. It used to be Portland, Washington. And I don't remember whose Hershey was. Hershey always had a team. I can't remember who Hershey was. Off the top of my head, I don't know. And okay, so Jerry Stadium, that's where the pool was, and Stargell hit a ball into that pool. Man, this poor kid was sitting in there, and the ball come near him. That would kind of stink. And Stargell hit a home run. The vet in the 70s, they put a star on the seat. Yeah, neat. All right, so I'm catching up now. I'm only 6 minutes behind. The Astrodome is still standing, but it's closed to the public pending reservations that have not been funded. Yeah. Okay. And Barbara's back. She went to the Waffle House, and now she's back. And Rogue comes by. Good to see you, Rogue. When the Bears won the Super Bowl in '86, I went to the parade the next day. The day after the Challenger blew. Oh, you're right. That was '86. I remember going into work that day, the Challenger, and people were talking about it. And they're like, to hear what happened, I'm like, oh no. And then like we saw the highlights. Oh man. But I went into work. I had to work in the afternoon, and I don't think I again, I wasn't really watching the news at that age. Yeah, but I do remember going into work and people were talking about that, and people were really bummed out about that. Yeah, Bad News Bears went in the Astrodome. I don't know if I've ever watched that one all the way through. Christmas says Penguin Stanley Cup are some of his favorites. It was. Let's see here. Crew fan, getting back to Adrian Adonis. I saw him versus Bob Backlund, MSG in '82. Adrian wore an Islanders jersey in the ring to get some heat. He had the in Boston. He came in. He had the cap, the gang cap, and the leather jacket. And people were throwing popcorn at him. And he was picking up the popcorn. He was eating it. And I thought that was the coolest thing. Again, I was a kid. I was like, oh yeah, Adrian, that was great. Yeah, as a kid, the Penguins were that good. Yeah, so when they started winning cups, you must have been pretty happy. I was the same way with the Patriots. So many years we were bad. There were some years I remember in the newspaper, right? So we, like right before Christmas, we'd have some games, like a home game or whatever. The Pacers would be playing, and they needed so many things to happen to make the playoffs. And every year, whoever was writing for this Boston sports column, we'd like, here's my wish list, Santa. I need a Patriots win, a Buffalo loss, an Oilers or San Diego win or tie. And it was like a whole list of things that needed to happen for the Patriots to make the playoffs. Every year that we'd have the Santa's list, and I just still remember that. That was kind of fun. Alan says he saw Nomar play a few games for the Trenton Thunder. That must have been kind of cool. And Rogue says Belichick was about the only one who had success as a DC against Montana back in the 80s. Another reason he should be a Hall of Famer. Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion. It's just people that don't like him is what it is. And they want to send a message to Belichick, which is too bad because it really it puts a stain on the whole process. If people are just being vindictive about it, it really does. It puts a stain on the whole thing. Let's see here. Mr. Swedish Jeff says, I went to Pittsburgh for work in May of 2006. Great city, especially for sports fans. PNC Park was beautiful. So sad the Pirates are so terrible. Yeah. Pittsburgh was great as a kid. Yep. I went to Pittsburgh in 2011. We had a roller hockey thing, had a fun time. And we had our banquet at the Penguin Stadium. But this was in, I want to say May, so they weren't playing. The season was over, or they weren't home anyway. And I remember, we drove through downtown Pittsburgh at 6:00 on a Sunday night, and it was a ghost town. It's like, if you go through Boston at 6:00 on a Sunday night, it's traffic everywhere, people everywhere. I mean, it's not, it's not like a zoo or anything like that, but it's busy, and there's like nobody. It's like, gee, what's going on in Pittsburgh? Are they closed on Sundays? It was really weird. Again, that was 2011, and we were in a room. You could look across the street and you could see the igloo. The old igloo was still standing. That was kind of neat. But there was no game that day. And the Big Red Machine says the Erie Artists. They had McDavid and Matthew Schaefer. I don't remember the Erie Artists. I don't remember that. Yeah, Hershey Bears are the Washington affiliate now, but back in the day, the Portland Pirates were back in the 90s, the Portland Pirates were the Washington fun. Maybe they shared Portland and Hershey. I'm trying to think who Hershey was. Was it Philadelphia or Pittsburgh? No, because they had the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, and then they had the Philadelphia Phantoms. So it wasn't them. The Islanders had Bridgeport. The Rangers had, oh man, I get that's on the tip of my tongue. Was it the Rochester Americans? Was that the Rangers team? Then they had Binghamton. Maybe the Binghamton Rangers. Rochester was Buffalo, I think. And Hershey, I can't remember who the Hershey Bears team was. I don't remember who their. Oh, Hershey was the Flyers back in the 90s. Is that what it was? And then the Phantoms must have come in, and then I'm not sure what happened to that. So yeah, there's our resident Flyer fan here. He'll help me on that. This was 95. I was talking about the AHL teams back in the day. We went to Hershey twice. We went in 97. Or was it 95? No, it was 95. It was the first year of the Ice Cats, and the season ended in Hershey, and we drove to Hershey for their last game. And the Hershey people was so nice, and because they saw we had the Worcester shirts on it, and they tapped us on the shoulder and says, "Anybody bothers you, you let us know." And that was pretty cool of them to go up to some visitor fans. And then the game got over, and someone else comes and goes, "Follow me." Okay. So we follow him. We go all the way down. Right now, the game's over and the players in the locker room. And he takes us right down to the first row, and we walk through the bench. I'm like, "You sure about this?" He's like, "Follow me." And we go through the bench where the players played, through the tunnel, and we're standing outside the locker rooms. He goes, "Worcester's over there. If you want to say hi to anybody, they'll be coming out." That was the coolest thing I've ever seen, and that was in Hershey. They were really cool about it. So we've been in the Hershey 2 or 3 times. I think we went to Hershey. And we've had a really good experience every time. We went there the last time we were there. There was a Saturday night game, and on Friday, we were just kind of walking around. They had the Hershey Park's open, but the rides aren't open. But you can get cocoa and kettle corn, and it's really fun. there was like Christmas in Hershey, and they had a football game going on at the stadium. So we went in and watched some of the football game, and we got some hot chocolate. The hot chocolate's so good in Hershey, it really was. And so they had an event going on Friday night at Hershey Park Arena. This was before the Giant Center was built, and we walked over and looked in there, and it was a concert. And didn't know who they were. Still didn't know who they were. And so we walked out, and someone goes, "Hey, you want tickets?" And I'm like, "Yeah, if they're free." He goes, "They are." So I was like, "Hey guys, come on back." And so we had four of us. Says, "You got four?" I was like, "Yeah." And I says, "What's the catch?" He goes, I work for a radio station. And he hands me four tickets. So I said, "Let's go in." So we went in. And of course, they're in the last row. We went way up there. We were right underneath the scoreboard. And we didn't know who the band was. We only watched a few songs and left. But it turned out that was the opening band. I didn't know who they were. And the main band was Brooks and Dunn. I had never heard of them, but my mother did. She was a huge fan. And she's like, "You were in Hershey, Brooks and Dunn was there." I was like, "We actually got tickets, but we didn't stay for them." She's like, "Oh, you didn't stay?" I was like, "No." I didn't know who they were. So that's our fun little Hershey story. Um, Jeff, thanks for coming by. Yeah, I'm going to be signing off here in a minute here. And yeah, Wilt did have his 100 points at Hershey. That's right. I wonder if anybody's ever tried that game, right? And see if they can get him 100. I know Al Red Sox fan, um, he tried that one time with Action PC, and he just gave the ball to Wilt every time. I think he got up over 80. He did. He got up in the high 70s or 80s. He didn't get to 100 though, but he tried it that one time, and that was fun. Basically, he'd have to have every point pretty much. Like no one else could take a shot. And at that point, you just start doubling. But yeah, fun times there. But anyway, well, yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here. So, yeah. So just again, if you're watching this after, just what's some of your favorite sports moments? So your favorite sports moments in your life is what we're calling this one here. And just whether it's the tabletop, whether it's a game you went to, something on TV that sticks out as a kid. We had so many good ones tonight, and just a chance to reminisce about some fun times. And it kind of one of the reasons why we play these games on the table or on the computer, right? Is to go back and revisit those fun times over and over and over. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming by and contributing here as we just kind of talk about games, and that's what we're supposed to do here is have a good time. And yeah, there was some fun. The one more story I will add, Christopher, about Hershey, if you guys want to hear it. I had a small compact SUV, and that's what we took to Hershey, and it was the four of us, me, my wife, and another couple. So we picked them up in Worcester, and we drove to Hershey, and it wasn't a very big truck, so it was filled with just us and our luggage. Saturday afternoon, my wife and the other guy went to the Hershey chocolate factory. And I had gone in and I was like, I don't want to go in again. Like, oh, we want to go get some candy, right? To bring home. Okay. So I just stayed in the car. I think the Bruins game was on that day. So I was listening to the radio, I was listening to the Bruins or whatever. I was just sitting in the car and they come out with bags of candy. And I says, "Where do you guys expect to put that?" It was a lot of candy. And we put it in the car, and I said, "There is no room for our luggage when we come home." That's how much they bought. And so we went back to the hotel and dumped it all off. And so me and the guy says, "Well, we gotta do something about this." So there was a Sears in Harrisburg, and which wasn't that far from Hershey. So we get on the highway, drove down the highway, we went to Harrisburg. And again, this is I don't the internet was big back then. So like this was all phone book and maps and stuff. And so we pulled into the Sears in Harrisburg, and the guy was really cool. He sold us a big roof thing that goes on the truck. And it's raining out. And I'm in the parking lot and we can't figure it out. We don't know how we're gonna put this thing on. I've never done this. And the guy in Sears come out in the rain and helped us put it on the top of the truck because we were dead in the water. I didn't know how to do it. It just didn't make any sense to me, and it's raining, and he's out there helping us, and we put it on the truck, and we screwed it in, got it all squared away. and they're calling us. I think we did have cell phones at the time. They're like, "Where are you? The game's in an hour," and it's like we're in the rain in Harrisburg trying to put this thing on the roof so we can bring the candy home. Because either the candy or our luggage is staying unless we do this. And so we finally get back with the thing on top. We go to the game. The next day, we're packing up everything, and that thing was full. The car was full. It was just, what a time! What a time it was. So anyway, so that's another Hershey story. But anyway, so we will talk to you all later. Thanks for coming by, and I hope to see you before the Super Bowl. I got to see how work goes. I got another uh, busy stretch of work coming up here, so we'll see if they cancel the Sunday games out because of the Super Bowl. Be interesting to find out. I'm Dave. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.